YouTube, the NBA offseason is happening as we speak. So much big news has already happened and free agency hasn't even started yet. The draft is coming up in just a few short days at the time you're recording this video. And we got a lot to talk about as far as, contract extensions, coaching hires. I've covered a little bit so far, but in this video, I want to break down a bunch of big moves that have either already happened, for a lot of teams in the NBA or are expected to happen in a week or so. There is some huge news around the NBA. Let's talk about every single detail, folks. So, maybe one of the biggest things that's happened so far after the Celtics went on to win their championship is something I haven't covered yet on the channel, and that is the contract extension of Malik Monk for the Sacramento Kings. Malik Monk having such a big role on the Sacramento Kings, obviously he's going to be a massive priority for them to re-sign in the offseason, and they did a great job coming right out of the gate and offering him a massive extension. Malik Monk accepts and will remain in Sacramento likely for the next 4 years on a 4-year, $78 million contract to keep the Sixth Man of the Year candidate in Sacramento. You'll love to see it for the Kings. This is a guy I wanted on my Sixers, but we don't talk about that. The Cleveland Cavaliers making multiple giant headlines as of today and yesterday at the time you're recording this, hiring coach Kenny Atkinson to be their next head coach after the firing of JB Bickerstaff, and I think this is a great move for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Big time news here. Kenny Atkinson, if you remember, has been in, head coaching rumors for a long time now. He had great success with the Brooklyn Nets before Steve Nash took over the realm with the Big Three era of KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. But Kenny Atkinson, I think, has deserved a head coaching job for a long time now, and you love to see it with a contender in the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think he'll make this team better day one of him entering that organization. Huge news from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Another big report from the Cleveland Cavaliers organization has been the contract extension of Donovan Mitchell. Will he re-sign? How many years? Does he want to remain in Cleveland as a Cavalier? That is kind of the big news of the offseason, right? And there have been multiple, legitimate, credible reports that the Cleveland Cavaliers are preparing to offer Donovan Mitchell a max contract extension. From everything I'm reading, it appears that he is somewhat interested in this and wants to remain in Cleveland, at least for now. This comes from Legion Hoops on Twitter. Again, follow all these people on Twitter if you guys want to stay up to date. Shout out to Legion Hoops for this one, and shout out to everyone I'm putting on the screen throughout this video. But Legion Hoops says the Cavaliers are expected to offer a 4-year, $209 million max contract to Donovan Mitchell per Shams. This is obviously great news for the Cleveland Cavaliers. If you're a Cavs fan, the last thing you want to see is Donovan Mitchell unhappy and wanting to go to another team. This is one of the reasons you have a chance in the Eastern Conference next season, along with your, new hired head coach Kenny Atkinson. So, the Cleveland Cavaliers already preparing to offer Donovan Mitchell the max is a good sign, I'd say. There have been reports that he, maybe isn't so happy in Cleveland, but I think this is, again, kind of a sign that maybe that's not true. This is directly from the Shams Twitter account. Cavaliers working to secure two fronts. Cleveland is confident about reaching a contract extension soon with Donovan Mitchell and is in final stages of deciding its new coach, which, obviously is Kenny Atkinson. But the fact that Cleveland would come out and, report to Shams that they are confident in reaching a max contract extension with Donovan Mitchell is a great sign. Obviously Donovan Mitchell, a superstar player, you can't afford to see him walk. So, great news from the Cleveland Cavaliers on all fronts, in my opinion. Couple of massive W's that could end up determining their 2025 season. Again, I think you got to be super happy if you're a Cavs fan right now. Couple, big time news stories and rumors from my Philadelphia 76ers. This comes from Philly Sixers Galaxy, one of the best Sixers news accounts on Twitter. Kyle Lowry is, quote, widely expected to re-sign with the 76ers this offseason, despite receiving interest from the Los Angeles Clippers per Mark Stein. This is great news for the, 76ers fan base. I know for me, it's great news. Love to see Kyle Lowry in a Sixers jersey next season again. Provides a lot of stability and really solid playmaking on both ends of the floor. You know what I mean? From that point guard position. And obviously he's a little bit older, and a veteran minimum contract is what I'd expect for Kyle Lowry. Great news for Sixers fans. Now, Paul George has been linked to the 76ers for months now in terms of his free agency decision, right? And there has been a lot of, conflicting reports over the last few weeks. And originally it was that Paul George and the Clippers aren't anywhere close to reaching an extension, and Paul George will definitely look at the market in terms of free agency. And Philadelphia, obviously, with all their cap space, is going to be one of the big teams on the list for Paul George because they have all the cap space to be able to offer him a max contract day one of free agency. And, Daryl Morey has basically said Paul George is top of the list. Now, just a week ago or so, or even just a few days ago, there was tons of reports that the 76ers interest in Paul George has, severely waned over the past few weeks or days. It's kind of a weird thing because Paul George, I personally think, is the most likely of the superstar free agents to leave their team in this offseason. We hear about LeBron James and guys like that, but I think they're going to stick around. Paul George is the guy I think could leave the Clippers, and with the Sixers being, title contenders right away, way and having all that money. Obviously, it's a good fit on paper, you know what I mean? So, but again, there was conflicting reports. First, it said Paul George, going to be the Sixers' top priority. Now it says interest in Paul George from the 76ers is severely waning. This is, from Shams, and that was just a few days ago. Sixers Adam, who's a great follow if you're a Sixers fan, Sixers Adam rules. We love Sixers Adam on this channel. He tweeted a quote from the Hoops Hype page, and basically a league source told Hoops Hype this, and the quote is, despite a recent report that Philadelphia's interest in George has cooled, there remains significant interest from the Sixers in signing him as a free agent, league sources told Hoops Hype. Again, so I don't know what to believe, but with free agency just a few short days away, I think, we'll pretty likely have our answer to that question within a week or two. A bunch of other teams have come out of the woodwork saying they're interested in Paul George. We got Houston, we got New York, and we got the Golden State Warriors. It's like, I'm expecting a report any day now to come out and say the Detroit Pistons are actively pursuing Paul George, and he is considering, making his presence felt in Detroit in the Eastern Conference next season. It's like every team has, a tweet about them saying they're interested in Paul George. This comes from NBA Central, another great news source on Twitter. I get all my NBA news on Twitter. NBA Central's great. This comes from the Steinline Twitter account that they got this news from. The New York Knicks are a team to watch for Paul George. Per the Steinline, the Knicks have been, linked to Paul George for a while now as well. They're one of the teams, but the Houston Rockets, this is another tweet from NBA Central. The Houston Rockets are the latest team to show interest in Paul George. Per Mike Scotto, the Houston Rockets are big game hunting, and one of the many notable names on their radar is Paul George. Again, pretty interesting. And then I read this one from Legion Hoops again. This comes from Brett Siegel, NBA, and he quotes, keep a very close eye on the Warriors regarding Paul George if Klay Thompson were to leave in free agency. Is like, what team isn't interested in Paul George? We'll just have to see what happens there. So many conflicting reports now, I don't know what to believe. Again, I think we'll have our answer within a month or two, but these are definitely some rumors to keep your eye on, right? This is a, report that I find, could have some weight to it and definitely is interesting, nonetheless, right? This comes from the Legion Hoops account once again via Ian Begley report. The Mavericks have, quote, checked in on Jerami Grant's situation in Portland. The reason I find this so interesting is because Jerami Grant, if you guys remember, last offseason signed a massive extension with the Portland Trailblazers. Obviously, Jerami Grant is a really valuable player, on both ends of the floor. He's just a solid two-way athletic wing with a great skill set on both ends, and I think could provide at his best like a third option on a championship level team. And I think he would make a lot of sense for the Mavericks on both ends of the floor. Imagine a starting lineup of Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Jerami Grant, PJ Washington, and Derek Lively II next season. I mean, that sounds amazing, right? The thing is, for Portland, like, Jerami Grant's on a massive contract and he doesn't fit the timetable of this team at all. You gotta think he'd be on the trade block, at least for certain teams like the Mavericks. Definitely a rumor that makes sense, and I think another one again to keep your eye on. Another, big rumor has been the Lakers and Clippers are expected to show interest in Chris Paul, per the Steinline. This quote says, I keep hearing that Paul, if he actually makes free agency at some point, right, like he has a team option, I believe, with the Warriors worth $30 million, so that's gonna be an interesting situation to follow. But to keep reading, would draw interest from Clippers as well as the Lakers. Paul's desire to play as close to his LA-based family as possible is well known, but I'm told interest in bringing him to the Los Angeles Lakers might not be unanimous within the organization, despite Paul's well-chronicled friendship with LeBron James. The Clippers have been hunting for a solid backup point guard. We talked about Kyle Lowry. Chris Paul's another name that would be kind of fun for that team, obviously him being a former Clipper, one of the best Clippers in recent memory, but the Lakers would be really cool as well. Another one I haven't thought of for the Lakers is Chris Paul, because you think about him and LeBron James' friendship as mentioned in that tweet, and also the relationship between, new head coach JJ Redick and Chris Paul, right? Being, former members of those Clippers. So that is an interesting report. I think he could make a lot of sense for the Lakers or the Clippers in that regard. So, that's pretty much it for the news right now. I'm kind of just waiting, every single day for a big breaking report of a massive extension or, some kind of big trade. We are going to be covering all of, the NBA news on this channel. So make sure you guys subscribe if you guys don't want to miss it. We upload content every day just like this on this channel. Would love to have you be a part of the community. I love the NBA. I love basketball. It's my passion, and I want to share it with you guys every day that I can. So every breaking news story, every, draft day trade, every, massive free agency signing is going to be covered on this channel sooner or later. And I'm going to be on top of the news like nobody's business, right? So make sure you guys subscribe if you guys don't want to miss it. We're just trying to grow and grind every single day. I love YouTube and I love the grind. So make sure you guys stick around if you guys, could be so kind to drop a sub, right? Other than that, man, a lot of big news in this video. Like I said, make sure you guys stay in tune with all these Twitter accounts. Shout out to all of them that I covered in this video. They are great. Twitter is a great news source for everything happening in the NBA, right? So make sure sure you guys definitely follow those accounts. We love to support people that, you know, provide a lot of good stuff to the NBA community. What do you think your favorite team should do in the offseason? Let me know down in the comment section, and hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day today. This is your boy DeHave, and as always, peace.